Next question asks, in Islam, we acknowledge that Prophet Muhammad holds a higher status than an ordinary believer, but where does his family members lie in the ranks in terms of their spiritual importance? So Ahlul Bayt, do they have a special religious status beyond that of a righteous Muslim, or are they considered like any other pious believer? And where does this status for them come from? Is it from because they're lineage from Prophet Muhammad, or does it come from the actions that they've done, or is it something from God?
So we have to understand that as far as sanctity is concerned, it is only the persons of the prophets of God who have any sanctity. After the prophets of God, every person, regardless of who he is, he could be the caliph, he could be a common person, he could be from the household of the prophet. They have, they have a status that is a non-prophetic status, I would say. So I use this term to specify the fact that any person who is not a prophet, does not have any status unless he's a righteous individual. And that righteousness is something that you have to earn. It's not by birth. It's not something that you have been given by God. You have to earn to become a righteous person. The concept has arisen amongst other reasons, I would say. Most of them, they pertain to some of the narratives that are found in Shiite and Sunni books, and also to a couple of verses of the Quran that have been interpreted in a different way. For example, we have the verse of Surah Ahzab which says, Ahlul Bayt, and it addresses the household of the Prophet, and it says, Yutahhirukum tathira, which means that God has given you these directives so that He purifies you, something to that extent. And from that has arisen this notion that perhaps the household of the Prophet is purer than the rest of human beings. As I said, this is a wrong interpretation of the verse. If you look at the verse, it clearly tells us that in Surah Ahzab, the matter is that the hypocrites were trying to scandalize the private lives of the wives of the Prophet so that they could bring down the repute of the Prophet. And for this, they would be doing all sorts of things. And in order to circumvent these subversive activities, the Almighty said to these wives of the Prophet that these hypocrites, they want to besmear you with filth, and God wants to purify you. And hence He has given you certain directives. Like, for example, you should not go out of your homes unless there is some very specific need. You should not talk to strangers in voices which are polite. So they were given a very, very strict set of directives so that these hypocrites who were trying to besmear the private lives of the wives of the Prophet would not be given a chance. And because this context was sacrificed, I would say, in interpreting this verse, that it became a source of regarding the household of the Prophet to be some pure individuals. So as I said, this is not purity by birth that is being mentioned. In fact, the context is entirely different. But other than that, as I said, that a person who is not a prophet is a person who can attain righteousness by sheer hard work, for example, by being a righteous person, by doing the right things, by doing good deeds. And that is something that you will have to earn. It's not something that is granted by God. God only grants you the status of prophethood, and He does so to prophets only. The rest are all equal, so to speak. I mean, they are the same category.